Welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm Brenda Winkle, an intuitive leadership coach and somatic guide for high performers, high achievers who want more freedom, ease, joy, and energy. You are a visionary leader, driven, intuitive, and ready for more. More flow in your work, more presence and joy in your life and relationships, more trust in yourself and the decisions you make every day. Here, we explore the intersection of intuition, leadership, and energetic sovereignty, blending practical strategy with energetic alignment so you can create success that feels deeply fulfilling at work, at home, in your relationships, and in your own well-being. You'll hear inspiring stories, practical strategies, and high-level conversations designed to help you integrate the woo into your daily life. Because when your energy is aligned, everything flows. Ready to elevate how you lead and live? Start by downloading my free energy audit at brendawinkle.com/audit and discover what's fueling or depleting you. Let's do this. Your yes-filled life starts now. Hello and welcome to Your Yes-Filled Life. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle. So today I'm announcing that we have officially made it into the top 5% of podcasts globally. Oh my gosh, this is huge. Thank you for being here today. If you've been here since the beginning, thank you. If you're just coming in, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to listen. It means a lot. So I want to tell you a little story. I was a music teacher for 26 years and I taught in the public schools, although, 3 of those years were spent in private school, but, 23 years in public school. And one of the places that I was teaching had a wall of ukuleles. And when I say a wall, it was a cinder block wall. It was painted lavender. And it had these hooks that were drilled into the cinder block that were ukulele holders. And so you could hang the ukulele from the holder, and then they were up out of the way, they were safe, and they were also easily accessible for me to grab for the students, and in some cases for the students to grab, although it needed to be the older kids because they were too tall for the younger kids. So these ukuleles were hanging on the wall the whole first year I was at that school because I'm not a string player. I passed my string proficiency class in college when I got my bachelor's degree in music education, K through 12, which means that you have to play every instrument in the band and orchestra to a level of proficiency that you could teach it to other kids. I don't know if you know that that happens for music teachers, but it does. So I passed my string methods, and then I promptly was like, I'm not going to do that ever. And then I found myself in this school, which had this whole wall of ukuleles. And after the first year of looking at those ukuleles every day and fielding questions from the kids like, can we play those? I finally decided that I should learn enough about playing the ukulele that, because by the way, ukulele is not in string methods class. So I decided I needed to learn enough about it that I could teach it to the kids. So over the summer, I took the ukulele home, I learned it, and then the next year I went back with the intention of teaching it to my 5th and 6th grade kids. And I did. But the reason that I'm telling you this story, first of all, it was really fun. It's really, really fun. It's fairly easy to pick up. There's lots of cool YouTube videos that can allow you to practice 1 or 2 notes at a time so you can get used to strumming. Anyway, that's beside the point. But it is a really fun thing to do if you're looking for an instrument to pick up. So all of these ukuleles are hanging on the wall, right? And I learned what each instrument was tuned to because every string instrument is different, meaning they have different strings. So you have to tune them to different pitches. And so I learned the strings for the ukulele and then I began to tune them. And I learned very quickly early in my teaching career that you don't let kids tune the instruments. every day because it'll take the whole time. And so, especially if you've got them for 30 minutes twice a week, you don't want that time to be spent tuning. It's a little bit different if you're teaching band or orchestra because you really do want them to learn to tune the instruments. But in this case, that was not what it was about. I really wanted them to have experience playing and making music with the instrument. So I tuned them. So what I learned is that in tuning the ukuleles, once I got the first one really well in tune, I could actually see on the strings of that first instrument when I got the next one in tune. You want to know why? Because when you pluck a string that is perfectly in tune to another string on a different instrument, that string will vibrate. That's called congruence. So we talk about this a lot in terms of frequency and energetics because when you're tuning something and it's the same, it vibrates. That's why people talk about the law of attraction or the law of vibration. They're talking about this same concept, which can be proven in physics, which is they vibrate at the same frequency, like attracts like. Okay. So let's take this a step further. Knowing that like attracts like, if there is a dissonance in between the strings, like let's say you play two strings that are just about in tune, but not quite, there's what we call dissonance. And what you'll hear, and you might have to be trained to hear this, you might not hear it if you don't know what you're looking for, then again, you might. What you'll hear is a little wave in the sound. And that wave is telling you that there is something a little bit out of tune, out of congruence. And when we have things that are out of congruence, it doesn't sound good in music. There's a reason why it takes you so much effort to listen through your beginning band students concert. It's because the instruments aren't tuned to each other because it's literally taking your beginning musician everything they have to be able to put their air, if they're a wind instrument, or their hands and strings together to get sound. And so the nuance of playing in tune comes with maturity and practice, which is why as people age throughout their school years, their playing gets so much better because they're in tune. They can stay in tune with each other and they can create an ensemble sound. Okay. So when we think about congruence in that way, we're talking about the place where you can get to that it sounds beautiful, that it doesn't make you tense up or raise the hair on the back of your neck. And that congruence is really, really beautiful. Congruence can come in a lot of other ways too. And it can come in ways that are not related to sound, but it still carries that same frequency. Okay. So let's look at different things that are happening in your life. If you are in agreement, your inner self, your values, your standards agree with something that you're doing, you're going to feel that sense of congruence where it's just like everything is vibrating in the best way possible and it just feels good, it sounds good, it looks good, and that's called congruence. When we're doing something that we don't quite agree with, or it just feels a little off, or we're not being totally, completely honest about something with ourselves or with other people, we can be out of congruence. And it feels very much that same way, like a beginning band student, where it's just like a little crunchy. It makes you just tense up a little bit, might make you make a face. And, but I'm laughing about it because it's such a good metaphor. And I taught music for so many years that I really know what I'm talking about. And if you ever have had somebody practice an instrument that's a brand new beginner, you also know what I'm talking about. And this is such an important concept. Now, I've been doing some personal work on congruence. Like, where am I in congruence in my business, in my life, with my friendships? And there's a few places that I have been finding I'm not in congruence. Just like to be really transparent with you, the podcast has been one of those places where I felt just a little bit out of congruence a few times, where I didn't quite agree with something that the guest had said, or I felt like I was giving you what you may have asked for as far as content, but it wasn't really aligning for me. And so I've been feeling this little like crunchy way about the podcast. Well, not just about the podcast, about a lot of things. Like, here's an example. It's very important to me to create accessibility offerings. And it's very important to me to offer really valuable free content. Not only because I think that that's the thing to do, but I value accessibility. And I know that not everybody has money to pay for a coach or a healer. So here's where the congruence comes in. The truth is, I'm running a business. And my business allows me to pay for my living expenses, to pay for my home, and to put gas in my car and food on my table, and to pay for my insurance, and to pay for the website that I host on, to pay for the microphone that I'm speaking into. And if I'm not being honest about the fact that I'm in business to make money, then I'm out of congruence. So if all I ever do is offer free stuff and I never say to you, yes, I'm offering you these free things because accessibility really matters. And also, I am in business to make money, to provide for my livelihood. Then I'm out of congruence, right? And that's been a place where I've been for like 2.5 years, honestly, where I'm not admitting, oh, by the way, I'm in business. And if you value my business, if you value my work, it means so much to me when you buy from me, because when you buy from me, it allows me to continue to do the work that I'm doing, including creating the accessibility offers. So that's been one place where I really had to work through, like, yes, I want to provide accessibility, but no, I cannot work for free. Now, I don't know if you can relate to that, or maybe this is just my own unique struggle, but this has come up for me again and again and again. And part of it is that I'm still unlearning what I was taught as an educator. I don't know if you know many teachers, or maybe you are a teacher, but there is this ethos in education that educators just continue to give, 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 give. And there is very little limit to what you will be asked to do by parents, by administrators, and you're expected to say, yes, okay, I'll add that to my plate. And before you know it, you're fitting a 60-hour work week into your 40 hours of pay. And that is just expected of you as an educator. So there was so much that I was doing when I was a teacher that I wasn't being paid for in any way. I wasn't being compensated by time off. I wasn't being compensated by financial gain. I wasn't even oftentimes being thanked. I was just expected to do it. Like, as if you want to keep this job, you will continue to do these things. And that is the ethos of education. And that's fine. But as I transitioned from an educator into business, I still had that feeling of, let me just continue to give and give and give and give and give. And, there's been some places where there have been challenges, financial challenges in my business because I'm working for free. And I know that sounds silly to say, but it is true. And I'm sure if you've been with me for a while and you've seen how many free masterclasses and free workshops and free breath work and community outreach breath work, you know that this is true. And so a way I'm coming into congruence is by admitting the truth is I'm in business and I need to be paid in order to stay in business. And that's why I sell things. And so one area that I'm coming into congruence now is telling you that, admitting that to you, and then also being transparent around what I offer. So I offer private coaching, one-on-one coaching, and I offer this in a multitude of ways because I have so many different kinds of training and so much different kinds of background. These private coaching sessions are a combination of somatic coaching, somatic processing, energy healing, my psychic medium gifts, and we're bringing in a little bit of Reiki, theta healing meditation technique, and you're getting the whole thing inside of this private coaching. And I'm so excited to be doing this. And another way that I have been able to bring myself into better congruence is I realize not everybody wants a package. Not everybody wants to work with me for 6 months or 3 months or 2 months. Sometimes people just want to work with me once. And so, for the first time since I started getting business coaching on my own, I'm offering standalone one-off sessions. So if you want to just, try it out, kick the tires a little bit, see what it's like, you now can do that. Or maybe you don't want to work in a coaching package because you just want a little tweak on something. Who am I to tell you that your best result comes from 6 months of working with me? Do I think that you'll get benefit with repeating sessions? Yes, I do. But again, who am I to tell you what you know is best, right? And so one of the other areas that I'm coming into congruence is now I'm offering single standalone sessions. I'm also offering a smaller package of just a 2-month retainer. And then I'm still offering my 6-month retainer. And if you want to go totally VIP, I also have a VIP offer called the Embodied Leadership, and that is like all the bells, all the whistles, all the access. And so that's there too if you want a really VIP premium offer. But the coaching offer, I'm just calling it private coaching because I want it to be clear. I want it to be simple. And I want it to feel in congruence so that I feel no weird way about telling you, yeah, if you want a single session, book a single session. So if you want information on that, you can go to brendawinkle.com/coaching, and it'll tell you all the things. But that's not actually the purpose of this podcast episode. The purpose is to tell you that as I have been getting clear around where I am and where I am not in congruence, one of the things I've realized is I'm holding back on you. I'm holding out on you. And I'm not sharing the full range of my spiritual gifts. I talk about it sometimes when I talk about intuition, but the thing you may not know is that I have access to every intuitive track that I talk about, meaning I can communicate with plants and animals. I can sense history in the ground. I see things, hear things, taste things, smell things, feel things, touch things, know things. And I also love oracle cards, mostly because sometimes it makes it more easy for people to believe if I say the message first and then draw cards, and then you see the same message in the cards. That's kind of fun. But the truth is, I live a very spiritual life, very spiritual. And it is so important to me to be connected to the divine. And I haven't really talked about that on this podcast. I mean, once in a while you'll get glimpses, but I haven't been as transparent as I want to be. And I want to take you behind the scenes, and I want to talk to you about how I use my crystals and how I use my oracle cards and what it means if you start to see and hear and smell and taste and feel and know things that maybe you haven't done before, or what happens if you're able to pick up someone's emotions without them ever expressing them to you, or what happens if you're able to feel a body sensation from someone who isn't you. Well, those are also intuitive tracks. So I thought to myself, how can I do this in a really authentic way? And I've been sitting with this question for months. Like, this is not a new process. This is a several month in process. How can I be more authentically me? And, even though I host this podcast called Your Yes Filled Life, there's still this area of my life that I'm not totally showing up, which is this whole spiritual side. And so I want to change that. But I also really value you, and I value your right to choose. I value consent. And so I'm not going to just change the podcast on you and take you along for the ride. Instead, I'm going to allow you the opportunity to consent to come with me on this more spiritual journey. So your Yes Filled Life podcast will stay as it is with some continuing improvements, because I'm always continuing to evolve and expand and to try to improve my processes and things like that. So, that will be true, but we'll keep the content pretty similar for your Yes Filled Life. And I'm starting a brand new podcast called the Table of Woo podcast. And this name, Table of Woo, comes from my friend, Cody Raven Morris, who has been on the podcast before. She's a really dear friend. I love her immensely. And she and our friend Sydney, who's also been on the podcast, and our friend Jason, the four of us get together once in a while and we hang out and talk about all the things. We were having a dinner or a Christmas celebration or something in December. And Sydney and Cody had arrived, and I was sitting at my dining room table, and Cody had gotten up to go do something in the kitchen. And I don't remember what I was talking about, but Cody said, that's a new record. That's a new record. And I said, what? And she's like, I don't think we sat down before we started hearing about all the woo. And I was like, yeah, that could be because, in my relationships, my friends have said that I'm not hiding anything from anyone. All you have to do is talk to me, and within 30 seconds that I have these gifts. And so I want to be more authentic in that way in this new podcast that's coming out. So anyway, Cody was like, she said, here we are at the table of woo with Brenda Winkle. And I was like, oh, Cody, that's a great podcast name. So that's the name of the podcast, the Table of Woo podcast. So if you want to learn about intuition and spirituality and connection with the divine and psychic mediumship and oracle cards and crystals and sage and smudge and ancestors and past lives, come join me over on the Table of Woo podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Table of Woo podcast, the place for lightworkers, mystics, healers, intuitives, empaths, and seekers. I'm your host, Brenda Winkle. I'm a psychic medium, mentor, somatic coach, educator, and energy healer who's been doing this work since 2015. Here at the Table of Woo, you'll deepen your spiritual connection, enhance your self-awareness, elevate your well-being, and empower yourself to live in your full alignment. Here at the Table of Woo, we normalize spiritual gifts and treat them with reverence and respect while having a really good time. This show is your sanctuary, a space where intuition leads, healing happens, and you learn to create a life that feels as good on the inside as it looks on the outside. This is the place where you can ask the questions you've always had so you can start to feel safer using your own spiritual gifts. Start by understanding what's impacting your energy and download your free energy audit at brendawinkle.com/audit. Whether you're building a heart-led business, you're just curious about crystals and oracle cards, you're seeing spirits, you want to reclaim your energy, or you're navigating your next chapter, this is your invitation to come home to yourself. Grab your seat at the Table of Woo podcast. Okay, I hope that you were excited about the Table of Woo podcast. I am so excited. And again, I value your right to choose. So if you don't want to follow me over on the Table of Woo, don't follow me over on the Table of Woo. That is your choice. And if you do want to follow me over on the Table of Woo, I invite you to go get subscribed wherever you're listening to this podcast. And remember, your yes-filled life isn't going away, but it is going to be expanding. And so you'll hear about the Table of Woo on your yes-filled life. You'll hear about your yes-filled life on the Table of Woo. It's going to be both and. And so I have one more thing in this regard that I want to talk to you about, which is chakras. So chakras are the energy centers that run through your body. And these come from Eastern wisdom. Specifically, we hear about them in yoga a lot. And your chakras are controlling so much in your life. And so, like, for example, if you have these three things in common, let's say you have some struggles with intimacy with a romantic partner, you have low back pain, and you have trouble setting boundaries. Did you know that those are all signs of a second chakra imbalance? Yeah, it's true. So I'm teaching a 3-day chakra workshop. And one of the things that I'm doing, and again, I'm coming into congruence, or at least really, really working to, I want to make this accessible to more people, especially those of you that are listening, but you have 9 to 5 jobs. So, this is going to be optimized for people in the United States who have 9 to 5 jobs so that you can come to this workshop. It's going to be live May 20, 21, 22 from 5:30 p.m. Pacific to 7 p.m. Pacific. So, we'll be live for 90 minutes a day. And in this chakra workshop, it's your energetic reset. You are going to be able to stop absorbing what's not yours, reconnect to your body and your inner wisdom, and you're going to be able to use the chakra system to understand, clear, and manage your energy. You'll be able to trust your intuition without second guessing it, and you're going to walk away feeling grounded, clear, and calm. So, you're going to learn in this 3 day workshop how to spot energetic overload before it turns into exhaustion, how to identify what's yours and what's not, how to create a space in your body for clarity and intuitive insight, and how to use your chakras as a map back to your intuition. You'll reconnect to your own energy so you can stop leaking, absorbing, or over giving. And this chakra workshop is specifically for empaths and intuitives who are ready to feel better. So on day one, we're going to be grounding and igniting. We're going to be talking about the root chakra, the sacral chakra, and the solar plexus chakra. We're going to learn to identify where energy is leaking or stuck, and we'll clear emotional clutter so you can set boundaries. We might just reset boundaries. Maybe you've already set them, they just need reset. And on day two, it's about open and express. Open and expressing. And we're going to be talking about the heart and throat chakra. We're going to heal the pressure to overgive or over explain on day two, reconnect with your truth and your voice, and begin trusting yourself from the inside out. And on day three, we're going to awaken and align by diving into the third eye chakra and the crown chakra. You're going to learn how to access your intuitive guidance with more ease, feel connected to something greater than you, and you'll learn how to create an ongoing chakra centered energy practice. Now, this is a workshop. You notice I didn't say masterclass, I said workshop. And it's going to be live. There is no replay for this workshop because I want you to treat it like a class. Like you don't expect to watch a replay of a cooking class, you go to cooking class. So I want you to treat this like a class where you can show up so you can meet the community, you can interact with the community, ask your questions, and feel really supported and connected. So this will be live on Zoom. And the investment is $111. And you're going to get those 3 90-minute sessions and an integration workbook. So, this is for you if you're tired of feeling everyone's energy all the time, if you want more access to intuition, but you feel overwhelmed or blocked, if you're craving clarity, peace, and time to reconnect to you. If you've tried the mindset work or even meditation, but you still feel stuck energetically, and this is for you if you're ready to explore energy work in a grounded, practical, and ethical way. This is not for you if you're looking for a quick fix or a spiritual bypass. This is not for you if you don't believe energy affects your mood and clarity. It's not for you if you're woo averse, judgmental of intuition, or unwilling to learn. It's not for you if you are not a member of or an ally to the BIPOC or LGBTQIA plus communities. So, in other words, if you couldn't be trusted with Anne Frank's location, probably not for you because this space is held with love, but it's also deeply protected. So you can learn more about this workshop and save your spot at brendawinkle.com/chakra, CHAKRA. And this is May 20, 21, 22. And again, there's no replay because I want you to treat this like a class. So you show up live. I really appreciate you being here, like more than I can even express. I have a little challenge for you if you're up for it. And I'm going to invite you to notice and pay attention to any place in your life where you might be feeling incongruence, where one thing might feel true, but you can't quite admit it. And I invite you to just sit with that. It feels a little bit like a messy middle when you're sitting with it. Trust me. I mean, that's what I've been doing for the last several months is sitting in that messy middle of it, being quite uncomfortable as I come to realize all of the things that I talked about today. But now I feel so much freedom and I feel ease and peace, and you will too. So, where in your life are there places where maybe you're not quite in congruence, where you're not quite telling yourself the truth about how you feel, about what's right for you, what's aligned for you? And then keep in mind, you don't have to make any changes. Sometimes all you need to do is admit that something is incongruence and then, or out of congruence. And then it's pretty interesting because as soon as you are willing to sit with the discomfort of realizing you're out of congruence, it becomes more clear what to do. So don't feel like you have to do anything with it right away. Sometimes it's just enough to notice that, hey, there's a little bit of lack of congruence here. You can even just say it to yourself, if nothing else. So you can do this by just paying attention to the signals your body is giving you. Pay attention to things like sudden muscle tension, sudden stomach issues. It might feel like stomach upset. It might be the liquid poops. It might be, and that can also be, by the way, that can also be an upper limit thing when you get the liquid poops, like you're doing a brand new thing in a brand new way and it feels stressful. So it's not necessarily a sign of incongruence, but it can be. And you'll know the difference because, the thing about congruence for me is I think back to the ukuleles. It wasn't like I tuned them once a year and then I was done. I needed to tune them every day, sometimes more than one time a day, because sometimes I would have 3 or 4 classes use them in a day of fifth and sixth graders. And so you're not going to think about this work as I'm going to do the congruence work now and then I'm going to be done. Instead, think about how am I going to come into congruence today? And then you can ask yourself that question again tomorrow or next week or next month or next quarter. And I like to do this work often because I find that it's like that ukulele where it kind of loses its pitch, loses its tune a little bit. And so I spend time quarterly on my quarterly planning day, which I do once a quarter. I'll have this day, like I have one coming up next week called May Planning. And one of the questions I ask myself is where am I in congruence? Where are things feeling really aligned and really good and really true? And where are they out of congruence? Where am I doing things from a not clear, clean place? Is there any place I'm doing something that I'm trying to manipulate somebody? Is there any place I'm doing something as a way to avoid something? Like, for example, all the ways that I was not saying to you that I have a business and I need to be paid in order to stay in business. Like, I haven't said that ever before. And I've been in business. Well, I mean, I've owned a business since 2005. I've had this specific business registered in the state of Oregon since 2022. But I've been doing this specific work since 2015. And you've never heard me say anything that I've said in the podcast today, which is to say, maybe you can give yourself a little bit of grace for knowing what you know now and not judging it and just allowing yourself to evolve and become. Because I think that's what we're always doing, right? We're always evolving and becoming. And I feel like personally, when we're done evolving and becoming, then we're probably done in this physical incarnation. And so give yourself permission to grow, change, evolve, screw it up, do it messy, and just keep coming back to find your congruence. If this has been helpful for you, would you consider sharing this episode with a friend? And if you want to learn more about working with me one-on-one, invitation to go check out brendawinkle.com/coaching. And I'd love to see you in the chakra workshop, May 20, 21, 22. And you can learn more about that at brendawinkle.com/chakra. And I put this all in the show notes so you can go click the links there. And again, thank you, thank you, thank you for being a listener on Your Yes Filled Life. And I'm so grateful for you. I love to hear from you and I read every email you send. So if this email or if this episode meant something to you, if it made you feel a way, I love hearing those things. And you can either message me on Instagram at Brenda Winkle, Brenda at BrendaWinkle.com, connect with me over on Facebook, or just leave a review on the podcast. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here. Bye for now. Until next time.